I've been meticulous in building this basement, so there's no way anyone will find out. Right. Thank you for preparing such a lovely room just for me. A young woman's voice, filled with affection, and Eric responding to it reached my ears, leaving me at a loss for words. What is happening? My mind was in disarray, unable to think, when suddenly a woman's high-pitched voice mixed with sighs echoed through the hallway. No, that can't be. Unbelievable. I had a hunch something was off with my husband's recent behavior, but seeing it firsthand, I realized I was more shocked than I had anticipated. I love you the most, Jennifer. I'm so happy. Eric. I love you too. The voices of the two, affirming their love for each other, seemed as if they were bound by fate. Who could have predicted that in our new home's basement, my husband would be indulging in an affair with a stranger? I clasped my trembling hands in front of my chest, then quietly closed the basement door. Desperately, I thought about what I should do next. I am Kelly Simpson, 31 years old. I work at a company that does web production. Since I was young, this has been my area of expertise, and I was truly happy when I got a job at my dream web production company. It is a young company, founded just 20 years ago, and most of my colleagues are of the same generation. This makes for a lively and harmonious workplace where I spend fulfilling days. Surrounded by wonderful colleagues, I am fortunate to work in my ideal workplace. I am also blessed in my personal life, having married Eric Simpson, who is 2 years older than me, about a year ago. Entering my 30s, I had started to feel anxious about marriage, but after meeting Eric at a mixer and dating him for 2 years, we got married. To me, who was eager to marry, he was like a hero offering a helping hand. We currently live in a rental apartment, but Eric, who designed our dream home from scratch, plans to complete it soon. It may seem a bit early to build a house less than a year after our marriage, but Eric had always planned to own a home before turning 30. When I asked why, he mentioned that he couldn't forget the environment where he grew up. Eric's family home, situated in a wealthy residential area, boasts a vast estate with a luxurious exterior and interior that attracts everyone. Raised in such an environment, he also longs to have a home similar to his parents as soon as possible. When I think of our future home, the image of my in-laws' house comes to mind. Eric's father is the president of Simpson Corporation, a major trading company. At Simpson Corporation, it is said that the average annual bonus for ordinary employees reaches $100,000, and his father's salary must be unimaginably high. Of course, I don't know the exact amount, but at least Eric was born into a wealthy family and raised as an only child without any hardship. If I were to speak somewhat critically, it could be said that he was a pampered son raised in a greenhouse. Not all children from wealthy families are like that. However, from Eric's behavior, I often feel that way. From the moment we met at the mixer, he boasted about his family's wealth and the privileged environment he grew up in, enjoying the reactions of the participants. If he progresses as expected, he will eventually become the next president of Simpson Corporation. It's understandable that he might be proud, so it wasn't a concern for me. Rather, I, who had always been shy about relationships, was worried whether I could ever date someone and get married, so meeting him was a blessing. From hitting it off at the mixer to developing a romance and getting married, everything progressed smoothly, and my newlywed life with the somewhat boastful and selfish Eric was going perfectly. And while my in-laws, who live in a grand luxurious house, are very sincere and have good morals, they treat me with respect. Every time I visit them, I feel overwhelmed and cautious, But as they are now my family, I don't find interacting with them to be a burden at all. 3 months after getting married, Eric first brought up the topic of our dream home. I've been thinking about getting our dream home soon. What do you think, Kelly? You always said it was your dream to have a home early on. It's only been 3 months since we got married, but if that's what you want, I'm all for it. Since I had heard before that building a home was his dream, his suggestion didn't come out of the blue, and I was positive and willing to cooperate. Thank you. Then I'll contact an architect who knows my dad right away. I think he can give us advice soon. Sure, I'll leave it to you. Please go ahead. Eric seemed pleased to move the conversation forward, so I immediately agreed with a smile. However, at that time I didn't yet know that owning the dream home Eric spoke of would later become a major source of trouble. As the plans progressed smoothly, I set one condition for Eric about the home mortgage. Considering both our incomes, how about I cover 40% and you cover 60% of the payments? When I asked, Eric immediately nodded and smiled, saying, "Of course. In fact, based on income alone, it would be more reasonable for Eric to bear a greater share. But as a working woman on my own, I wanted to take responsibility for our new home, so I proposed this distribution. However, if the mortgage were to be in joint names, there could be potential trouble if anything happened, so the mortgage was put in Eric's name. As an active employee and the future president of Simpson Corporation, it was reasonable to have the mortgage under his name. Eric seemed uninterested in the details of the mortgage, quickly agreeing to my terms and the name, then starting to talk about the exterior and layout of the house. How about making the staircase leading from the living room to the second floor a spiral staircase and having an open floor plan? It's nice to have a sense of openness, isn't it? Also, building up to the third floor would be a waste because it would cost more for things like exterior painting. So it would be better to have a basement. I agree with the open floor plan, but a basement is a bit unusual, isn't it? The word basement didn't quite fit the atmosphere of the house Eric was describing, and I was momentarily puzzled. It saves money compared to building up, and a basement can be useful in case of emergencies. I'm planning to use it as a bedroom for now, but if you don't like it, we can make the bedroom on the second floor and use the basement as a storage room. I was just surprised because I didn't think you would be particular about having a basement. I felt a slight discomfort with the assumption that a basement was a given, but I decided it was just one of his preferences. Besides, as he said, having a basement might indeed be handy for storage space, so I agreed to it. Although it might be unusual for a woman, I'm not really interested in designing layouts from scratch. Therefore, I had no problem letting Eric make all the decisions. When I agreed to include a basement, Eric's eyes seemed to sparkle even more. It appeared that he really wanted a basement. I found him very attractive when he talked about his passion for our dream home. He continued to visit the architectural firm multiple times, refining the floor plan through trial and error. I joined him when I could, but often work popped up suddenly on weekends, and there were days I couldn't accompany him. However, Eric didn't seem to mind when I couldn't join the meetings. On the contrary, he was happy that all his requests were being implemented and always came back satisfied. "How did the meeting go, Eric?" I asked. "Yeah, everything is going smoothly. I can't wait for our dream home," he replied excitedly, his eyes shining. He seemed to be eagerly anticipating our new home. And a few months later, our new house was finally completed. It seemed the contractor had prioritized Eric's requests from the architect's instructions. I was immensely grateful to the construction team. The newly completed house had a chic color scheme, a dignified yet stylish construction, Although I had visited the site several times during construction, seeing the completed home made even me, who isn't particularly fussy about houses, excited and thrilled. After thoroughly admiring our new home, Eric took several photos from various angles with his smartphone. However, just as the new house was completed, Eric's return time from work began to get later. "It's a busy period right now, sorry, but I'll be coming home late for a while, so don't worry about dinner," he said, rubbing his hands together apologetically. Watching him, I was convinced that he was truly overwhelmed with work. As the heir to Simpson Corporation, Eric carries more responsibilities than typical business operations. No doubt he's also learning the ropes of company management from his father, the president. "Are you okay?" "Don't overdo it," I told him, concerned. From that day, his return times really did become later. I also have busy periods at work, but I'm not as late coming home as Eric is currently. For Eric, who is always so busy, I make sure to keep the home comfortable at all times. However, I began to feel a sense of unease growing slowly. On the rare occasions he came home early, he would seriously search on his smartphone for furniture and appliances that would suit our new home. During one of these moments I wondered, "This bed and storage shelf, I think they'd fit perfectly in our new home." The pictures showed a bed and storage shelf far too large for just the two of us. We're not the type to hoard things, so I wondered why we would need such large furniture right now. "The design is nice, but why choose something so big?" I asked. Eric's face, which had been enthusiastic, suddenly turned sour. "We might need it if our family grows, right? Bigger covers smaller, so it's better to have something larger." Right. Family growing probably meant when we have children. At that moment, I realized something. Recently, Eric and I hadn't been intimate. Thinking back, this started around the time Eric began insisting on having a basement in our new home. It's strange for a newlywed couple to go months without intimacy. Once I became aware of it, what hadn't seemed a big deal before felt like a significant issue, and one night I mustered the courage to talk about the growing distance in our marital life. "Eric, maybe we could. Sometime." It was embarrassing to initiate explicitly, so I tried to convey it through the atmosphere. "Sorry, I'm just too tired today." "Let's pick another day," he casually declined, and then immediately covered himself with a blanket. It was a shock. Rejected despite being the first time I had initiated. And by my new husband, no less. There could have been a kinder way to decline, and doubts about his feelings began to arise. Initially, Eric was the one who actively initiated. Holding back tears, I quietly exhaled in the bed and fell asleep that night. Since then, there were no initiations from Eric, and his return times from work got even later. However, he was enthusiastic about furnishing our new home, and new furniture he ordered online continued to arrive at our new home. This weekend, we're scheduled to move into our new home. In line with this, he was happily purchasing new furniture online on his own. Finally, the weekend arrived, and the day of our move came. Messages confirming the day's move from both our parents arrived early in the morning, showing high interest in our new home. During the moving process, I stayed at the old house to oversee the packing, while Eric went ahead to the new house to direct the placement of furniture and the moving in of items. "I'll wait for you at our new home," he said, holding the keys to the new house as he left. "Yes, please do." Thinking about starting our new life in the meticulously finished new home made my heart flutter with excitement. Soon after, the movers arrived and quickly began loading the boxes into the truck. As I watched the boxes gradually disappear, I thought about starting afresh, enjoyable new life with Eric in our new home. All the boxes are loaded now, so we'll head to the new home next. Thank you. Please continue to take care of things. After sending off the truck to the new home, I wiped down the room we had lived in out of gratitude and took a photo of the empty room as a keepsake. Well, I better head to the new home too. It's about time to head to the new home, which is just one train stop away. I grabbed my bag and stepped outside. While walking to the nearest station, my smartphone rang. The call was from the movers, who should have already been at the new home. We've arrived at your new home, but there's no response to the doorbell, and the door is locked so we can't get inside. What? It's strange that there's no answer at the doorbell since Eric should be there. My husband should be inside. Perhaps he's just gone to the restroom. Could you try ringing again, I suggested, and I could hear them ring the doorbell again over the phone. I'm sorry, but we've tried several times already, and it seems that no one is here, came the troubled reply. I understand. I'm on my way there now and will arrive in about 15 minutes. Could you please wait for me? Since ringing the doorbell repeatedly changed nothing, I asked them to wait until I arrived. While hurrying to the new home, I thought Eric might have stepped out somewhere. However, I couldn't have imagined the shocking situation that awaited me. After getting off the train one station away, I hurried to the new home. Upon arriving at the house with black walls, the movers were still waiting in front of the entrance just like before. I'm so sorry for keeping you waiting. I'll open the door right away. Feeling apologetic, I quickly unlocked the front door. Eric's shoes were not at the entrance, confirming that he had gone out. I hadn't expected him to go out during the move. He might have had urgent business, but he could have at least informed me. Despite feeling irritated, I continued directing the movers where to place the furniture. All the items have now been brought in. Thank you for using our service. They informed me cheerfully, and I expressed my gratitude and apologies again. Feeling tired, I decided to start unpacking the boxes. As I wondered what to do with the boxes that hadn't been assigned a storage place yet, I remembered the basement we had talked about before. Right, if I put them in the basement for now, at least the living room will be tidy. Maybe I should put these there for now. I carried a few lighter boxes down the stairs to the basement. Just as I was about to open the basement door, I heard a noise inside and, startled, I stepped back and listened closely. There were sounds of movement inside. Startled and my heart pounding loudly, I took a deep breath to calm myself. As I slightly opened the door, light spilled into the hallway, and I gasped. I couldn't see completely inside, but the mere thought of what was happening inside made my spine chill and my body tremble. I've been meticulous in building this basement, so there's no way anyone will find out. Right. Thank you for preparing such a lovely room just for me. A young woman's affectionate voice and Eric's response reached my ears, leaving me speechless. What is happening? My mind was in disarray, unable to think, when suddenly a woman's high-pitched voice mixed with sighs echoed through the hallway. No, that can't be. Unbelievable. I had a hunch something was off with my husband's recent behavior, but seeing it firsthand, I realized I was more shocked than I had anticipated. I love you the most, Jennifer. I'm so happy. Eric, I love you too. The voices of the two, affirming their love for each other, seemed as if they were bound by fate. Who could have predicted that in our new home's basement, my husband would be indulging in an affair with a stranger? I clasped my trembling hands in front of my chest, then quietly closed the basement door and locked it quietly. Desperately, I thought about what I should do next. Did you hear a noise just now? It must be your imagination. Or perhaps it's the movers, perhaps. Eric and the woman seemed to notice the faint noise I made but showed no sign of coming out of the basement even to dress. While astounded at their nerve to commit infidelity in the basement on moving day, I felt a deep anger from within. What have they done to me? We were still newlyweds, supposed to start a happy life in our dream home. As I clenched my fists so hard that nails left marks on my palm, a surge of vengeance against Eric welled up inside me. I wanted to catch them in the act of their affair at all costs. I decided to act immediately for that. I quickly contacted my parents and in-laws, as well as Eric's aunt and uncle who live nearby. When I told them I wanted to show them the new home, family and relatives quickly came over. My parents and in-laws especially seemed to be fully prepared as they had already planned to visit today. Eric's relatives also arrived, and I felt inwardly satisfied. Thank you all for coming. There are still some boxes left, but please make yourselves comfortable. I guided everyone around the new house with a bright smile, hiding the flames of revenge burning inside me. What a wonderful home! I never imagined you could live in such a grand house. It's all thanks to the Simpson family. No, I left everything about the new house to Eric, so I didn't help at all. That's right. This house was built with mortgage taken by our son and Kelly. We are grateful to have such a wonderful woman as our daughter-in-law. The parents modestly complimented each other as they cheerfully toured the upstairs rooms, then descended to the first floor. I heard from Eric that there's a special room in this house my uncle mentioned. Yes, that's right. Eric even bragged about it to us, my aunt answered with a laugh, and I mentally pumped my fist, pleased that both my uncle and aunt knew Eric was proud of this house. Yes, especially the basement, which Eric took great care in designing. Let me show you now. With everyone gathered, I led them down the stairs to the basement. It seemed that Eric and the unknown woman's affair was still ongoing, as I could hear her sweet voice. Here is the basement that Eric particularly focused on. Please go inside. I turned the key and flung the door open forcefully, revealing the scene one had anticipated. What? What is this? My father-in-law exclaimed in shock upon seeing his son's disgraceful behavior. Finally noticing us, Eric and the woman stopped in shock, still embraced. Why are my parents here, and Kelly and my aunt and uncle too? Ah, don't look at us. They panicked. But we were the ones who wanted to scream upon stumbling upon this scene. You two. What are you doing here? My mother-in-law yelled, her face turning red. My parents were too shocked to speak, standing dumbfounded. Wait! Listen to me. Eric tried to make excuses, but in this situation his words lacked any convincing power, and he stumbled over his words. Huh? Hey, that woman, she isn't an employee at our company, is she? Seeing the woman's face, my father-in-law muttered. Reacting to the mention of our employee, the woman suddenly looked frightened and pulled a blanket over her head. Seeing her reaction, my father-in-law looked at Eric in astonishment. Is that woman someone from the company? I asked my father-in-law. He nodded, his voice trembling. Yes, she's one of our new employees, what I exclaimed, confused. New employees were usually around 22, fresh from university, or 18 if they had just graduated high school. I recalled that Eric had proposed building this house around May this year. At that time, he was enthusiastic about designing the basement and was excited about purchasing large storage units and a bed, whose purpose was unclear. I had thought it was his love for a future family and his unique interests, but putting together the pieces from earlier, the situation seemed very different. And it was around the time when our intimate life as a couple ceased, and he started coming home late due to a busy period. Foon. So maybe you met this new employee in April and immediately started an affair? You wanted to build a basement to sneak her in secretly, and needed a big bed and storage to enjoy your rendezvous. Here I confronted Eric with the suspicions I had been harboring. It's not like that, Kelly. The basement was supposed to be a space for hobbies, and it could also be used for storage. I chose the furniture thinking of the future. His excuses seemed desperate and unconvincing. I felt the love I had for him cooling rapidly, like the receding tide. Just for storage, you specifically wanted a basement? I believed in your passion for our dream home. That's why I finally agreed to the basement. But looking at this situation now, don't you think it's unreasonable to ask me to believe you? Eric looked down, unable to respond. I had never imagined that our new life in this eagerly awaited home would be betrayed in such a way. Betrayed by my husband's affair with a younger woman, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. Do you understand what you've done? Having an affair with your boss who's 10 years older than you, you've got some nerve. I pulled off the blanket covering her head and stared into her eyes. I didn't know Eric was married, she said tearfully, looking anxious. But my father-in-law wouldn't have it. That's impossible. Everyone in the company knows Eric is married. We even announced it recently in the company newsletter. You might try to claim ignorance because you're new, but even then, looking at this big house, do you think saying you didn't know would be an acceptable excuse? The woman shrieked briefly in fear as she tried to stammer out some excuse. Considering they were caught naked together in the basement, any excuse seemed futile. It's not true. Jennifer really didn't know. It was all my fault. Please don't blame her. Eric desperately defended her, making me utterly despise him. In this situation, where I was the most hurt, enough with the insults. Shouldn't Eric be protecting his wife, not his mistress? My parents, in-laws, and other relatives all shared the same reaction, their faces hardening in disapproval. Finally realizing no one supported him, Eric seemed stunned by the gravity of the situation. The other woman finally broke down crying. What are we supposed to do now? It should be clear with a little thought, but I can't understand the nerve to cheat so easily. Right, Kelly? This was just a momentary lapse. Let's make up and start over from the beginning. I mean, there's no way I could seriously fall in love with such a young woman, right? It was just a fling. At Eric's words, we just opened our mouths in astonishment, unable to speak. The woman next to him, who had been crying and trembling, turned pale with shock at his sudden betrayal. Seeing Eric desperately trying to save his own life made me feel like I was truly seeing his true nature. Who would think of repairing a relationship with him in such a situation? It's just baffling how naive Eric can be. How can you say such a thing? You really don't understand people's feelings. I thought today was the start of a happy life for the two of us in this house, and you ruined that. So from now on, you think a momentary lapse of judgment is an excuse. And you were rude not just to me but to her as well. I wish you had understood that infidelity comes with risks. If you're going to do it, be prepared to lose everything and protect her to the end. That's because I was immature. Even now, he still doesn't understand his position. I was even more disappointed by his attitude. My father-in-law also showed his displeasure with Eric's frivolous behavior. Will you be quiet and listen? What is this frivolous attitude of yours? You should be sincerely apologizing to Kelly first, shouldn't you? Thinking only of saving yourself is the height of foolishness. Everyone was overwhelmed by my father-in-law's intense presence. I did not raise a son like this, someone who lacks human decency and can't distinguish between right and wrong cannot hold the position of future president of the company. And you, miss, are fired effective today. Eric and the woman gaped in shock at this sudden declaration. Wait, Dad. Please don't take away my position. I'll do any job, just reconsider that part, please, Eric pleaded. The woman also hurriedly continued. President, I am terribly sorry. I got into a company I could brag about to my parents as a new graduate, and to be fired over something like this. What will they say? I don't mind being transferred, just please don't fire me, I beg you. The two desperately begged for my father-in-law's forgiveness. However, my father-in-law's expression did not change at all, and it was clear that he was completely unmoved by their words. After a brief silence, he inhaled deeply and rebuked them. You two, you're apologizing to the wrong person. The person you should be apologizing to is Kelly. If you can't even understand who you should be apologizing to, there's no way I can entrust the future of Simpson Corporation to you. Do you understand? Finally receiving their last warning, the two screamed, "Ah," and clung to each other. Their figures looked pitiful, but I felt nothing more. If you understand, can you please leave now? I said indifferently. Kelly, please forgive me. I'm apologizing like this. Please, Eric begged. I apologize too. Please forgive me, the woman also desperately apologized. Despite not apologizing sincerely, they clung shamelessly, and I glared at them and shouted, "Stop insulting people. Leave now." Perhaps realizing I was serious, the two were startled and rushed out of the house. Afterward, we who remained just looked at each other, trying to calm ourselves. My in-laws repeatedly apologized to both my parents and me. While I'm still angry at Eric, I am truly grateful to my in-laws, and I vowed to start a new life from now on. Later, we divorced, and I successfully received a large settlement from Eric. Though Eric was the son of a wealthy family, without his parents' help, he didn't have the financial means to pay the settlement in one go. He would likely need to repay his debts moving forward. As declared, my father-in-law fired Eric and the woman from the company, and also decided to disinherit Eric from the Simpson family. Until the end, Eric seemed to cling to his father, but his father simply said, "I can't entrust Simpson Corporation to someone like you," and dismissed him. Ultimately, the company was taken over by a competent subordinate whom my father-in-law trusted. Though I overlooked some things because he was my son, Eric lacked the qualities of a president. My father-in-law assessed Eric calmly, truly embodying the stature of a major company's president. Our former new home became owned by Eric, and I decided to leave that house. A house with only painful memories is better off gone. Since Eric was the owner, he would have to repay the new home's mortgage, but being unemployed now, he would probably be financially struggling. On the other hand, once the woman learned that Eric was no longer the successor, she left him. Ultimately, she was probably only after Eric's money. It's understandable when you think about it. Engaging in a high-risk affair with a man 10 years older than her, the benefits were limited. Of course, I also claimed a suitable settlement from her. Both of them, being unemployed, would be chased by the need to repay the settlements. Eric lost his wife and job, ended his relationship with his lover, and now faced a large debt. I don't feel sorry for him. This was all his doing. How Eric will recover without his father's support is unknown, but I hope he never appears before me again. Afterward, I moved to a rental apartment suitable for living alone to start a new life, surrounded by my favorite furniture. I am enjoying a free life. Interactions with my colleagues at work are also enjoyable, and I've met someone who interests me. If I ever decide to marry again in the future, I will discuss thoroughly with my partner and build a home we both agree on. That is my resolution.